And we will move to the next item, which is again by Representative McNamara, House Bill 5077, relating to health and safety, treatment for patients with terminal illnesses. But before we do, Rep, if you could give me one moment, I recognize that Representative Morgan is now on the virtual screen and has joined us. Rep. Morgan, if you would like, we will include you on the attendance as well as the vote to hold all bills for further study. Is that your desire?
Yes, that would be fine.
Thank you, Representative Morgan. Welcome. Okay, Representative McNamara, you can move on House Bill 5077, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. House Bill 5077, the Neil Fachon Terminally Ill Patients' Right to Try Act, has unanimously passed the House for the last several years. I think, Representative Morgan, I believe you voted for this a few years ago. Do you recall? I think she did. Yes, I'm getting a yes. So
Yes, I did.
Neil Fachon was a 8-year-old freshman at Northeastern University. He's from East Greenwich. Got a horrible diagnosis of this rare form of brain stem cancer. And Neil did what every intelligent young person would do with this horrendous news, and what many of us would also do. He went online. It was a fatal diagnosis, months to live, searched the internet and the world for a treatment that was successful, found a young lady in Brazil who had tried this treatment. Further research revealed that a doctor in Texas was offering it, got involved in the treatment with 3 months left to live, had a very positive reaction. A year and a half later, the FDA canceled the trial, and he could not get that treatment anymore. He took the FDA, hired a lawyer, took them to court, and won. But it was a year and a half later, and he had lost his health, and he ended up passing away. But it is more common than you think. People start trials, usually phase 3 trials, which means it's the point in the trial where the drug is proven to not do physical harm. And then, due to the fact that the drug may not reach a specific benchmark, the company will cancel the trial. As a matter of fact, it happened to me and my wife. We were study partners in a new clinical trial of a drug for Alzheimer's disease. And approximately 5 years ago, we got into the study. You don't know whether you're getting the placebo or the drug. After the first year, they put everyone on the drug. My wife did very well for 3 years, and approximately a year and a half ago, she was in, it was a Brown medical butler, Dr. Salloway. The clinical nurse supervisor said to me, "Joe, I think we're ready to go public." I said, "That's wonderful news." Went home that Saturday, I picked up the paper, drug trial canceled by the drug company. It did not reach the benchmark that they had set, which was regaining all of your ability. It removed the amyloid plaque, the protein that covers the brain, but they canceled the trial. There were 66 Rhode Islanders who were involved in it, some of whom you know had served in this chamber. And after that, unfortunately for those patients, they lost cognitive and physiological abilities, and they appealed to the drug company, and when they looked at the data, they found out these individuals who were on the full dose, which my wife was, had little to no decline over that period of time. That is a tremendous accomplishment for a clinical trial. Now they're back on the drug, and we are appealing to the FDA to have a larger scale public availability for that drug. So that is an example of something that could have been prevented, because this is not only the right to try, it is the right to continue in those type of trials. So it's received bipartisan support. There is a federal version of this, but the federal version does not have the language that this does with the right to continue. So it's very relevant today with vaccine development, and especially in the state of Rhode Island. When you look at the clinical trials that are taking place with chronic illnesses like pancreatic cancer at Merriam and Brown University again. I mean, these are world-renowned trials, and they are very beneficial to our population and the world. And Dr. Soloway, who heads the Rhode Island Memory and Aging Clinic, is not just well-known in the United States. He is world-renowned. He is the guy. So we are very fortunate in Rhode Island. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll take any questions that anyone may have.
Thank you, Representative. Right now, we have Representative Ackerman, but prior to that, you all have received by email an email from Wendy Fachon. This is Neil's mother, and I'd just like to take just 2 minutes and read that email to all of you. Some of you may not have had a chance to receive it, but this is her written testimony provided to the House Committee on Health and Education and Welfare for February 2nd. We do have a new committee name, but we will accept this letter. In 2016, our son, Neil Fachon, was diagnosed with DIPG, a brainstem cancer for which there is no known cure. He elected to pursue an experimental treatment and enrolled in an FDA-approved clinical trial, which the FDA subsequently shut down. Neil was forced to plead in federal court for his right to try, which was granted. Subsequently, the antineoplastin medication he took demonstrated efficacy sufficient to prolong his life several months beyond what mainstream medicine had given him as a prognosis. However, when fluid buildup in his brain forced him to be hospitalized for emergency shunt surgery, Rhode Island Hospital refused to honor the court's ruling. Citing hospital policy, they would not allow Neil to continue taking his medication during his 2 weeks of hospital recovery. The hospital's disregard for Neil's right deprived him of an effective treatment, thus contributing to his rapid decline and eventually his death. Had House Bill 5077 been law at the time of Neil's illness, the right to continue clause would have enabled him to continue his treatment. In that event, we believe he would have lived longer and might still be with us today. While right to try is law at the federal level, Rhode Island's bill is not redundant. At the very least, the right to continue clause in Rhode Island's bill is unique and extremely valuable in our estimation. Thank you for your consideration. Wendy and Emil Fachon, 51 Pricewood Drive. I just wanted to take a second to read that. It is the only written testimony that we have. Representative Ackerman, you have a question for the Chairman, McNamara.
Yes, thank you. Chairman, I remember when Neil's parents came last year with his photo, how gut-wrenching it was to listen to their testimony. It was such a compelling argument. And so I just don't understand why we weren't able, what was the sticking point that we couldn't get this passed before? To me, it's a no-brainer.
It was the Senate.
It was the Senate side? Okay.
It didn't, former Senator, now Judge Erin Lynch Prater had the Senate version, but, I won't
Yeah,
get
right,
into the
of course.
politics of it.
Of course, but
It's-
I think the time has come for this bill, but I'd also like to see something like this in the future, not just for the terminally ill, but for people with chronic conditions.
Well-
Yeah,
The definition of terminal illness is a progressive disease or medical condition that entails significant impairment. So you're talking about cancer, you're talking about chronic heart disease, you're talking about many chronic illnesses that would qualify under the definition of terminal illness in this bill.
thank you.
Thank you, Representative Ackerman. Are there any other questions for Chairman McNamara? Representative McLaughlin, please.
Yes, Chairman McNamara.
Yes.
Chairman, I'd like to commend you on this bill. In reference to the bill itself, I know at the federal level, the right to try, is basically, is your bill in sync with the one in the federal level? We're not missing out on any.
Right. No, it doesn't take anything away from the federal statute, and it adds the right to continue, which is something that we have. It's in addition to the federal statute. Representative McLaughlin.
So it adds too. That's phenomenal. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative McLaughlin. We have Representative Fogerty and then Representative Morgan. Go ahead, Representative Fogerty.
Chairman, I'm just wondering if these products are not continued, how would a person, again, it might be, morbidity might be inevitable with some of these, but if the company stops producing the product, the medication, what is the patient to do? Is that is that an issue that?
Yeah, it isn't. It doesn't hold the company, if it's impossible to do, if they, for whatever reason, there's no liability for the company.
So if they stop making it, though, somebody couldn't continue their treatment.
Yeah, and it also probably depends upon the patents that they have and they've taken out, so.
Right, but if usually they don't do a patent, if they don't, continue the product, say they end
Yeah.
the studies, the trials.
Yeah, I'm not sure, I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, I'm glad that it mirrors the federal, that was my other question with it.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. I think it's a good bill, and I assume probably the hospitals might have been pushing back against this, considering some type of liability. You don't want to say? Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Don't give him any ideas, Representative Fogerty. No, I think that's
The way of the
fine.
world,
I'm sure we're going to
unfortunately.
hear from other people regarding this bill as we go forward. We have Representative Morgan with a question.
Yes, can you clarify again how this differs from the federal right to try law?
The right to continue when you're in a phase 3 trial to petition the company to continue using a drug is not included in the federal.
So you can petition the drug, but you can petition the company, but you can't force them to continue to manufacture the drug?
Yeah, I don't, you'd be very hard pressed, Representative Morgan. And I don't have that in front of me, but I just know that it would be very difficult to do that.
Okay, then I have another question. Is this all under the, so you have to have a physician that has actually looked at the phase 1
Right.
trial and
Right,
understands that it's appropriate for the disease or that it has some?
right. That's in the bill, the physician, the permission of the physician.
So they have to, they just can't come from out of the blue, just, I read about this on the internet, they have to have a
That's
physician that
correct.
actually.
It has to be recommended by the physician.
Okay,
That's in the bill. I think it's on page 2.
I read it, but, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Representative Morgan. Do we have any other questions from the committee?
Yes, please, Mr. Chairman. This is Speakman.
Yes, go ahead, Representative.
Yes,
Speaker.
Representative Speakman. How may I help you?
As I read the bill, the right to continue requires hospitals to continue administering the medication, even if it has been, even if the FDA has, whatever the FDA does, denied its efficacy or no longer allowed. Is that correct?
I don't have it in front of me. I believe it possibly could be. Yep.
Okay. But we don't have any testimony from hospitals objecting to that provision where they say, you're telling us to give every drug that.
Hospitals have not objected to it in the last 3 years. So it's not the hospitals.
Okay, this was, it's page 4, line 19. That says a clinical trial patient has a right to continue the experimental treatment in a hospital setting, provided the patient or guardian sign a waiver of liability in favor of the hospital.
Right.
So, and hospitals can, and nursing homes shall not suspend treatment,
Right.
and so on. Okay, but the hospitals have no concerns about that.
They have not in the past 3 years.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Speakman. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on the bill? Representative Morgan?
Yeah, reading this, the hospitals are never on the hook for the cost of this, right? The patient actually knows that they have to pay for this if they choose. Correct,
Correct.
Chairman? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions, please? Chairman McNamara, do you have anything else to add?
No, that's it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Thank you very much.
You're quite welcome. Okay, so without any further ado, I will close the hearing on House Bill 5077, and we will move on. Let's see.